You've heard it 1,000 times. Goldfish have a 3-second memory. It's everywhere. Sitcoms, memes, that coworker who keeps forgetting your name. But here's the thing. The science has known this was wrong for over 60 years. 6 decades of research, published studies, university experiments, all ignored by pop culture. Let's find out why. I'm talking about a full-blown scientific cover-up, not by scientists, but by everyone who refused to listen to them. This is the goldfish memory myth, exposed. Here's what got me started on this. In 2022, Oxford University, yes, that Oxford published a study on goldfish memory. What they found should have made headlines. They trained goldfish to swim exactly 70 centimeters for a food reward. Not roughly 70 exactly, and the fish nailed it, over and over for weeks. Even when researchers changed the starting position, even when they removed visual landmarks, the goldfish remembered. They swam the exact distance. 3-second memory? Not quite. But this wasn't some breakthrough discovery. Scientists have known about goldfish memory capabilities since the 1960s. The research spans 6 decades in multiple countries. Study after study demonstrated the same thing. Goldfish can learn, remember, and apply what they've learned months later. This isn't controversial in the scientific community. The only place where goldfish are stupid is in the popular imagination, and that gap between scientific reality and public belief, that's the real mystery here. Let's start with what goldfish can actually do. According to Live Science, goldfish have been trained to navigate complex underwater mazes and remember the route months later. They can learn to escape nets. Not just once, they remember the technique and execute it faster each subsequent time. That's not reflex. That's learned behavior. The goldfish tank reports that when goldfish are consistently fed on only one side of their aquarium, they learn this pattern and wait there at feeding time. They don't swim randomly. They anticipate. They remember where the food comes from and position themselves accordingly. That requires memory lasting at least 24 hours. But it gets more impressive. Researchers trained goldfish to recognize colored paddles. A red paddle meant food. A blue paddle meant nothing. The fish learned to push only red. And here's the kicker. They maintain this preference long after the experiments ended. We're talking weeks, possibly months. Color recognition, decision-making, long-term retention. The American Museum of Natural History describes goldfish as legitimate models for understanding learning and memory. Not because they're simple, because they're surprisingly sophisticated. NPR's shortwave podcast covered this myth specifically. Their verdict? The 3-second memory claim has zero scientific support. None. It never did. So where did this myth even come from? That's where things get murky. There's no original study claiming goldfish have 3-second memories. No scientist made that claim. The best anyone can trace is vague assumptions about simple animals that somehow crystallized into accepted fact. It's folk wisdom that never got checked. And once a belief like this enters the culture, it becomes self-perpetuating. Comedians repeat it. Screenwriters use it. Your friends reference it. Nobody questions it. But scientists have been publishing contradicting evidence this entire time. For 60 years, the data has said one thing, while popular culture said the opposite. Live Science reports that evidence even suggests goldfish can recognize individual fish and remember them after long separations. Social memory. In a goldfish, they know who their tankmates are. They can distinguish between familiar and unfamiliar fish. That's not a 3-second memory that's lasting individual recognition. This leads to the obvious question. If the science is so clear, why doesn't anyone know about it? Why does the myth survive despite mountains of contradicting evidence? Scientists quoted in Live Science put it bluntly, fish have a serious PR issue. That's an actual quote from researchers studying this problem. The quote continues, people don't interact with fish the way they do with other animals. Dogs, cats, even hamsters get more cognitive credit than goldfish. Think about it. You can play with a dog. A cat sits on your lap. But a fish? You watch it through glass. There's a barrier, literal and emotional. That distance makes it easy to underestimate fish. We don't see their learning. We don't witness their recognition. We just see them swimming in circles. Indiana University's science blog explored why such myths persist. They note that correcting misconceptions requires active effort and nobody's fighting for Goldfish reputation. There's no goldfish industry lobby. No PR firm is hired to rehabilitate their image. The myth persists because debunking it doesn't benefit anyone financially. Live science analysis states directly, despite reams of research, the public's view on goldfish memory hasn't budged much. The evidence exists. Nobody reads it. This is what researchers call a zombie myth. It's been killed by evidence repeatedly, but it keeps shambling back because the correction never reaches the people who believe it. The 2022 Oxford study proved goldfish have what's called proprioceptive memory. They remember physical distances through body sensation, not just visual cues. That's sophisticated cognition. The fish didn't just remember where food appeared. They remembered how far to swim. When starting positions changed, they adjusted. That requires spatial calculation and memory integration. Imagine if someone told you dogs had 3-second memories. You'd laugh. You know your dog remembers you, remembers commands, remembers where treats are hidden. We give dogs cognitive credit because we interact with them. We see their intelligence daily, but the science says goldfish have similar capabilities. We just never witness it. The Britannica article on similar myths notes a pattern. We underestimate animals we don't closely interact with. Fish, bats, turkeys, all victims of bad assumptions. The blind as a bat myth? Bats actually have excellent vision. They use echolocation as a supplement, not a replacement, but nobody bothered to check. Turkey makes you sleepy? The tryptophan is actually in lower concentrations than in chicken or cheese. It's the massive Thanksgiving meal, not the bird itself. These myths share a common structure, a plausible-sounding claim that goes unchallenged because checking feels unnecessary. Everyone already knows it's true. But scientists haven't given up. The American Museum of Natural History actively uses goldfish in educational programs about memory and learning. They're trying to rehabilitate the fish's image. So, what do we do with this information? First, question common knowledge about animals. If everyone knows something but nobody can cite a source, that's a red flag. If you own goldfish, know this: they can be trained. They'll remember your feeding schedule. They'll recognize you. Give them some credit and maybe a more interesting tank. Use this as a conversation starter. Next time someone says memory of a goldfish, you've got an actual factoid. 60 years of research proves them wrong. Apply the same skepticism to other animal facts. How much of what you know about sharks, spiders, or snakes comes from movies rather than biology? Consider why scientific literacy matters even for low-stakes topics. If we're wrong about goldfish, what else are we wrong about? The habit of checking applies everywhere. The goldfish memory myth reveals something important about how misinformation works. It doesn't require conspiracy. It just requires inattention and a story that feels true. We don't need malicious actors to spread false beliefs. We just need a claim that sounds plausible, repeated often enough that questioning it feels unnecessary. The goldfish didn't fight back. It couldn't correct the record. It just kept swimming, remembering everything, while the world laughed at its supposed stupidity. If this kind of myth-busting interests you, subscribe to the channel. We tackle these zombie beliefs every week, the ones that feel true but crumble under actual scrutiny. The real question isn't whether goldfish have good memories. The science settled that decades ago. The question is why we keep believing the lie after 60 years of corrections. That's the real story here, not fish neurology but human psychology. Our relationship with truth is more complicated than we like to admit. We hold on to beliefs that feel right, especially when correcting them offers no reward. Being right about goldfish doesn't pay the bills or win arguments. But maybe that's exactly why this matters. If we can be this wrong about something this simple, imagine what we're missing about things that actually matter. The goldfish memory myth has swum through our culture for decades, surviving everything science threw at it, and honestly, it probably won't die anytime soon. But now you know, 3 seconds is a myth. Goldfish remember for months, and the next time someone uses that insult, you'll know exactly how wrong they are. The goldfish knows. It always knew. It's been watching us get it wrong for 60 years and remembering every second of it.